Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Lee from Reefer Explained, and today we're just doing an update on the Redsea E260. It's going to be coming up to 2 years in December, so around a month away, and just wanted to show you some updates and some new equipment and things that I'm running on the tank and the reasons why. You may be interested in this video or you may not be, but there's not many videos on the Redsea E260. There is on the 250 Reefer, but this one is a little bit more harder to find online. So here we go. So originally when you buy the tank, you get the pumps and the protein skimmer from Redsea, and this equipment's great and it may be suitable for a lot of people. And it's not to have a dig at Redsea or any of the equipment because it's probably brilliant. But for me, I've decided now to change some of the things that have been bothering me, and I'll just show you right here off the bat. So these are the circulation pumps that sit behind the black glass, which is behind the weir, and these circulate the water from the back to the front, and they have adjustable nozzles at the front. The arranging 4,500 litres between both of them on flow rate per litre per hour. As far as I know, these obviously will be AC, yep, they're extremely powerful. They have a guard here to prevent stuff going in. However, over time with algae and other things, these get quite blocked, and obviously regular maintenance on them is a must. The cap comes off like so. Let me just try and get this off for you, just to show you what they're like. Sorry, they're a little bit fiddly. Let me just grab this for you, 1 second. Okay, so we got the cap off here, just comes off, and you have a adjustable gate, I wouldn't want to call it a wheel, that you can close the amount of flow coming out of this, so you can turn it right down or turn it up. However, these pumps, the way they're designed, they're really strong and they do a great job of circulating that water and pushing it around. And I had it on a setting of around here. I'll just take this part off as well, just to show you inside. Just simple, just unscrew, and then you have this part here that just comes off. Sorry about the shakiness. Just try and get this off. Yep, there's still some water in here where I've washed it. And there's the impeller, and the impeller just is pulled out like so. And then obviously just maintenance this. Now these get pretty gunked up quite easily, and the tubing that you get is a flexi tubing. It's like the Eheim one, I believe, like kind of thing, the green standard stock, with these kind of T's, if you want to call them, and they go obviously inside, connected to this ball valve here, this cock, if you can see it here, right at the back. I'll just take you around the back to show you. So what you would see is that they would go directly down here and they would connect under here. They're very fiddly to get out and maintenance. Also, I find that they have started to vibrate, and the only thing I can think of is, as you can see, this tubing over time just bends, and you can try and bend it back, but it's making the pump against the sides vibrate, and in a front room this is just not acceptable. And this is only 2 years old. I'm finding obviously with the two pumps as well, that you know that they're using probably quite a lot of, being AC, quite a lot of electricity. I haven't checked on that. So you have to have these turned on first, before you turn your power on to your return pump, because when these are rocking back and forth pulling the water in the back of the weir, to stabilize the water level, you have these turned on first, then you turn on your return pump, and then anything else inside the main display can be turned on after, like another circulation pump, if you have one that's an extra, because that will keep the level for your ATO stable. And I found this out the hard way, that you have to turn these on first. Okay, they draw up water from the back of your weir, and then you turn on your return pump. So a little tip for you there if you didn't already know that. Now, what I've done is I had an MP10 which has been being used, and I've turned this up now to compensate for the nearly 5,000 litres per hour water volume flow not being used. So I've cranked this from 3 to 4, and it's doing a great job. And also I've added my Nero 5 that I've had in a box for a while. I've had this on now, and this is running at nearly 40%. And since I've done this, because the flow is going from left to right and they're bouncing off each other, plus I've got the return, sorry, the lights, you cannot see this. Let me just come down a bit, see if you can see. Getting so much blur, guys, I'm so sorry. 1 second. Let me just adjust this. Okay, maybe you can see. Okay. Barely see it. Oh, there you go. Okay, so there's my return valve for my return pump, and that is pushing at 50% on my Jacob 4,000 litres per hour. So now, since I've done this, the corals have really responded, because the water flow before was battering from this angle, the front panel, and bouncing into the corals, head pressure directly on. Didn't matter which way I moved the nozzles, because the way they're positioned, they were causing some of the corals not to fully open up. Now my torches are doing amazing. They've really opened up, and this Alvipora, it's like a Gonipora, I believe. It was doing well before, but now it's really blossomed and opened up amazingly. All the corals are doing well, and they're kind of bouncing back. This hammer is really, the green one, is it really exploded with extra heads. And these other ones are really doing well. I've got a kind of a pink tint one here at the front, an orangey tint to the left, and there is a yellow tipped frog spawn at the back. These are all Goniporas. They are doing really well, really exploding with growth. Another Gonipora. Yep, they are amazing, really easy to keep. They generally like it on the sand bed or low down. They like a sway of a flow. They do like to be fed some sort of coral food, maybe once or twice a month. You don't have to go crazy. And I've got another one here that's slowly opening up. This purple one, might need to move it into a better location with less flow. And that's really what I'm running in here. Obviously we've shown these before, these beautiful pink tip elegance coral, and just a standard elegance coral here. Yeah, they are both doing really well. There's one thing to bear in mind with elegance corals: keep them away from other species. Just keep them together, keep them in a part where there's just gentle flow and not too much light. And just leave them alone, and they need to be on the sand bed directly, so that the shell is kind of placed into the sand bed, but facing forward, so that when they fully open, they extend onto the sand bed. And they're really doing well now. I didn't really grasp this when I got these. I was trying to keep them on the plug or put them on a rock. This is the best place for them, is the sand bed. Another thing to bear in mind with these that I found, I had a pest on this second one here. So when they close up at night time, inspect between the flesh and the shell, and I found it looked like a ball of like rice, like kind of thing, in the crevice of between the skeleton and the flesh. And in fact, it was a ghoul crab. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But basically, I prized that sucker out with some dental tool, and it was disgusting. It was like a little crab that the back of it was the shell, where I was seeing this white kind of grainy thing. And he was really irritating this coral. And when I took him out, it's now doing really well. And these like to be fed as well, more meaty food like mysis and brine shrimp. And I'm feeding these pretty much a couple of times a week with a pipette. So I brush against it with the pipette. It's quite a long one, so it stands outside the tank, so my hands are not in the tank. I wait for the elegance coral to slowly close, and then I squirt the food into there, and they will just draw it into their own mouths. So now that I've got the flow sorted out in this tank, it's just gentle sway back and forth, and I can crank this up soon and just to see how things are doing, if it needs more flow, because flow is very important in the reef tank. The other thing that I've done is upped my magnesium slowly over the last 3 or 4 weeks, maybe more. It was at 1200, and that is fine if everything is doing well, and it was, but some things weren't really opening, and plus on top of that, they were quite retracted and the colors weren't popping. And I've read that higher magnesium, around 1350 or more, is better for your reef tank, and especially for LPS, as they seem to do better. Plus I've heard that it helps with algae, as in it prevents it from growing in a higher magnesium levels. So I'm starting to see the benefit of that. It's kind of like a brown dusting of algae now, whereas before I was getting green, light green algae growing, and I'm still trying to keep on top of this to prevent this from coming back. So slowly I will get there. Okay, so the next step is underneath the reef, in the sump. I'm just going to show you what I've done, and just a few kind of small upgrades. So what I've done is I've bought this dosing container, and it's by Redsea Fish. I bought this from Chartered House Aquatics, and they are 1,500 millimeters, which is 1.5 liters of water that you can fill this, or solution. And I'm doing it up to 1,000, which is 1 liter, and that is purely for my KH and calcium. I may run magnesium at some point, but for now I'm just manually dosing magnesium until I need to dose it, which I may add a new doser. Let's see what the future holds. At the moment I'm still using the TMC Easy Dosed 2-pump dosing, and it's doing really well. Now these lids obviously just come off. They're very cool, and you can just fill them up, and then it's got the acrylic tube that goes down to the bottom, and they gave this silicone tubing, this dosing tubing with it, so I replaced my old tubing to match it, and it looks really neat, and I'm really happy with it. And before I was just using some generic containers from Poundland that were not really suitable for this. They were taking up a bit more space, and they just leaked as well, like on the top when you had to shake them. So now I mix them up in their own separate container first, and then I'll pour them into these. Yep, KH is probably lasting, I think, around maybe 3 weeks. Calcium's lasting a lot longer, around 4 or 5 weeks, because I'm dosing less calcium. The skimmer, the protein skimmer, has a little bit more results happened on this recently, so I'm really happy. So first things first is I took all of this apart and soaked it in a vinegar bath for around 3 hours, just using distilled vinegar, white vinegar, with warm water. And there may have been some blockage or something inside the pump, I'm not sure, and I put everything back together. And now it's skimming pretty well. Now I do have a light bioload in here, and I think this is where I've been going wrong. I assume that you put the skimmer in, and you can see it's not really that dirty. I've just done a water change a day ago, but I thought you just plunk this in and it would be skimming and bringing out gunk that you see on YouTube. That's not the case. I only had 3 fish in here to start with, and I feed once to twice a day, plus vacuum the sand bed once or twice a month, and I'm using filter floss and everything else. So I think I've been pulling out nutrients quicker than they can build up, because my nitrates are well below zero at 0.06 parts per billion. It's the nitrates Hannah checker URL one, so it's a little bit more complicated to do, but it's for lower nutrient tanks. And yeah, the Deltec now is really doing well, and I'm happy with it. I'm just hoping I don't need to change out the skimmer again if this is not producing, but I will just test my tank for nitrates and phosphates, and the levels. Now I've got 4 fish. I may add another 2 more shortly, and then that will be my full stocking of 6 fish in this tank. I think they're all small fish, and I think that will be enough. Let me know in the comments if you think that's too many for this reef tank. There will be 2 chromis fish. I just want something that's pretty placid, and that will be a pair. Everything else in here is doing really well, and the floss, as you can see, there is nutrients in here in fish, but because it is after a day, that is what it's looking like. And I change this out every 2-3 days, and I rinse the sock every 3 to 4 days. They are just the 225 nylon socks. I've put all of my filter media, my biological and my carbon in a bag in front of this to stop flow directly hitting the protein skimmer. I thought that maybe the amount of flow that was coming through was affecting the draw intake through the front of this. I'm not sure, but it seems like a lot of things that I've done have helped. So just to backtrack on what we've done on this system recently is upgrade the dosing containers here, just to something more reef related, and something with just a lot more easier maintenance, and it's looking really good. Obviously I've still got a bird's nest of cables here, and I need to figure out a way to fix this at some point, but there's so much equipment in here, guys. It's a bit overwhelming sometimes, and this is a small reef tank, so something to bear in mind if you ever get a reef tank. When you get the tank like this Redsea, for instance, this is your extension plug socket, like this one, just behind here, and it holds all of these plugs. So your protein skimmer that comes with the Redsea, the circulation pumps 1 and 2 that I'm no longer using, the reactor, well sorry, I'm using this for my reactor, which is my carbon and Rowaphos reactor. These are spare. This is your heater that you could plug in, and these are the lights which I've plugged in. So all I'm really using on here now is my reactor and my lights, because this is a 2-prong plug thing, and only now a lot of the equipment, so you can see this is a standard UK plug, but some of these now come in with adapters, and you can change them out to fit into this. This is why you have to implement something like this against the back panel or away from the water, because you have so much additional equipment. If you think you're just going to get away with these sockets that come with a tank and plug and play, yes you could if you really wanted to, but once you start adding a UV sterilizer, an ATO, a protein skimmer, well, if you wasn't using the stock one and you upgraded to the sump, you wouldn't use the one that came with it, because it's the one that fits in the back. And obviously you got the extra pumps, the MP10, the Vortex, you might have a doser, and you can see all of this equipment starts to add up pretty quick. So this is not really to scare people out of the hobby, but it's just to take in mind preparation and planning for what equipment that you're going to originally put in there and what you're going to add next. There's my ATO kicking off. With the ATO, something to bear in mind, and I've gone through this a few videos, and it's something I think will hopefully save me. You can see that this pipe here is the ATO pipe. Now this is not the original pipe, this is an add-on, and basically it's been strapped to the connection for the second overflow. And so this is the ATO inside here, and so basically it just drops from here straight down into the other tube, and now there is no back siphon. So even if this was to touch the water, this would not back siphon, because the original tube is here that's going back into the pump, which is where the ATO is for the reservoir, which is around the side of the tank. So it's something to look out for and try. The other thing I've upgraded recently is, so my Eheim 350 is doing really well and everything else, but I had down here the Eheim compact. I had an 800 on here, and it was even suspended, and the water was vibrating through this and basically against the back of the tank, even though I've got this rubber silicone mat and I've got this plywood that's not even fitted to the tank. I was trying to prevent that, but from time to time when you knock it, you could hear this hum, and that really annoyed me. And I think obviously I had put an 800 on this, where I think the maximum flow was around 600 or something. So I've put a 300 on here now, and now there's no noise on this whatsoever. The 300 is perfect, because at the low end, that's where the algae and everything will dispute through the UV sterilizer. Now, if anyone's got one of these or should know about this, when you undo this to take out the UV bulb, is there the sleeve inside there? Does that need to be maintained? The sleeve where the water runs past, does that need to be taken out to be cleaned? Because I've not done that, and I've been in there about 1.5 years. So I just want to find out from anyone that's got a UV 350, do you need to service the sleeve where the bulb goes through? Let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe. If you're just wondering what this pink lighting is, it is a crazy pink lighting that I picked up, like some sort of 80s lighting, but basically it's on a little sensor. So when you open the door, that light comes on above, and this one is just the one that I had before that picks up. It's a USB one that you charge up, and it's a great one, because you can see then obviously the white light, it just helps you see inside the tank. Guys, let me know what you think about the Redsea circulation pumps that I showed you today. Do you think it was a good idea? And as I said, I've just upgraded. I just put the MP10 on here for flow, and everything seems to be doing well with the corals. They're swaying back and forth. Before they were closed up, and everything was kind of getting battered from every angle. Also on the return with Redsea as well, this adapter here I bought from Redsea, it diverts the water left and right. Before it came forward as well, it was like a duck nozzle that came forward, and again that was really problematic because it was hitting a lot of the corals at the front pane, and really annoying. So there's a couple of tips for you there. If you've got this tank, or if you've got the Redsea line and you want to upgrade those, then have a look at those options. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe.